Hello and welcome to the 2015 Delhi Election Tracker brought to you by Boom News along with CVoter. We are asking a lot of questions, but today we're going to be laying the ground in what appears to be a very exciting battle that is not important just for Delhi, but the whole country or all of India. So the questions that we're going to be asking will pertain to 3 or 4 issues. The first is we're going to talk about what is the composition of voters. We're going to talk about the leadership that's at stake here. Who's going to fight whom? It's not clear. Why is Delhi important? Is it only because it's a political capital, or are there other issues? Those are some of the issues that we're going to talk about. And of course, we're going to look at polls. We're going to talk about what are the previous polls telling us, what should we be focusing on, and what can we take away. And Yashwant Deshmukh joins me now from Dubai, where he is right now. And Yashwant is going to tell us what's primarily at stake here before we get into the subsidiary issues that we've been outlining. We've already been getting a lot of tweets and comments on G+ from you folks, and we're going to be sharing them back on this very new and interesting platform. Yashwant, over to you.
We have been receiving a lot of queries on Twitter and social media exactly why they are doing this entire exercise on the social media now. Of course, we want to take it to the next level of interaction with the people at large. You know, almost a year back, you remember, Govind, that we had asked our Twitter followers that, you know, if you want to ask any question, you can design our questionnaire. A lot of people at that point of time had come up and designed their own questionnaire, which we had run and put it on social media. So this is the next step. We just don't wish you to design the poll. We want to conduct the poll as per your designing, but we also want to discuss everything which is not discussed in the mainstream media or the routine television. You know, as we all know that the whatsoever appears on TV, in the routine television, satellite TV or other channel, is primarily the number on the vote share and the seat share. They don't really go beyond that. While this entire poll and the research activity is beyond that. There is a lot of 99% of that information, which is serious socioeconomic data, socioeconomic analysis, is not coming in the mainstream media. That's where it's not happening. So while you are watching TV, different polls on the TV, they show you what is happening. And we are doing this exercise with Boom TV to understand why it is happening. There's a big difference between what and why. And a lot of gap in the information that remains there, a lot of unanswered questions which the viewers always have in their mind, that you know, okay, you are showing this particular data, you are showing this particular rating, but why it is happening and why it is not that way happening the way many of the viewers think that it should be happening. So we would be answering all those questions over here, and this is why we are going to start this weekly series where we are not only going to discuss the CVoter poll, Govind, but we are going to look at whatever the polls are coming, not just us, but we are going to put up a tracker on and pick up indicators and the data points and the analysis of whatever is coming through whomsoever point. We are going to discuss it and try to make sense out of it.
Right. So absolutely. So this is not just about doing a Delhi poll exercise, but it's also about a benchmark in format and a benchmark in doing and interacting and involving you, the audiences, if you want to call yourself that, in this very interesting medium, which is of course digital. So Yashwant, let's start off with a few things, right? So one of the things that we want to talk about is the composition of voters as we lay out the entire landscape for what we're going to do right up till the day of the budget. So what is the, I mean, we can see the frame now. We can see all the people of Delhi who are either lining up to vote or are you know, celebrating the victory of an earlier election. What are we looking at when it comes to composition here? Just take us to the key attributes. I mean, and the details, of course, we'll discuss in the days to come.
It's where we are going to analyze many things, and we are starting this. This is more like a curtain raiser today. But we must tell the viewers what exactly we are trying to analyze and looking at. 1 year back, Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi actually stormed in a big way, which nobody expected them to. And of course, it was a direct result of a much larger campaign against corruption, which was going on, started with Anna Hazare and continued with Arvind Kejriwal. So the composition, what is the composition of the voters? What kind of voters did vote and support Aam Aadmi Party or the BJP or the Congress? And is there any difference? Is there any change in that composition that is taking place? So we are going to check a lot of hypotheses with our data, like hypothesis number one. When the last year in December, exactly 1 year back, when Aam Aadmi Party had 129 seats and 129% votes over here in Delhi. At that point of time, the composition of Aam Aadmi Party support base was largely anti-Congress and largely middle-class voters. But it seems that after the May election, where the Aam Aadmi Party lost by 7-0, but their vote share went up. Somehow, between December and May, Aam Aadmi Party positioned itself at the time of Lok Sabha election, not just anti-Congress party, but a big-time anti-BJP party. Arvind Kejriwal went all the way to Varanasi to contest against Narendra Modi himself. So that had its bearing. And now we see what we understand from the inputs, what we understand from whatever data that we are getting, is that there is a big change in the composition of the votes of or the support base of Aam Aadmi Party in the last 6 months, from primarily an anti-Congress vote. The vote composition of Aam Aadmi Party has become primarily an anti-BJP composition. Right. That's a big shift, big change in their voting. Voting trends and in their composition, and their vote share has gone up. So vote share going up doesn't really mean that they have added on to what they had in 2013 December. This going up also means that they lost something what they had in December 2013, but that loss was compensated much more from the social groups which were not there to vote for them in 2013. Right. On definitive on that if you talk about the average 100 voters of Aam Aadmi Party, what is the composition of that 100 vote? If you talk about the average BJP vote, what is the composition of per 100 BJP vote, and Congress and others? So we are going to test this hypothesis and come up with the answers.
It's interesting, Yashwant, that Congress lost 35 seats. I mean, of course, people who are following Delhi and Delhi elections closely or have followed would know this very well. BJP got 17 and AAP got 17 and SAD got 1. And obviously, the big question now is how much is or is there a probability that Congress could actually win back some of those seats? But that's another question which we will hold for now. Let's talk about leadership, Yashwant. So what's at play here? Who's facing off whom? Right. So Yashwant, the question, I mean, we've got the plate up there. Who's facing off whom? We've got Harshvardhan, we've got Arvind Kejriwal, we've got Lovely, but these are all people who, I mean, except for Kejriwal, who it's not clear who's going to actually be the chief ministerial proposition.
Very well said. Actually, it's Arvind Kejriwal versus the vacuum out there, because there is no other leadership which is being projected either by the Congress or from the BJP. Congress, obviously, Sheila Dikshit was the tallest leader for them, but she is not in the race. She is opted out of the race, and no other leader from the Congress fill up that vacuum. And as far as BJP is concerned, all opinion polls, if you look at in the last 3 months, we have the data. All opinion polls have said only one thing, that after Arvind Kejriwal, the only other name which props up is Dr. Harshvardhan. Even though the gap is huge, Arvind Kejriwal is leading in popularity quite substantially at the moment, but still, the only other name is Dr. Harshvardhan, and Dr. Harshvardhan, again, for all the mysterious reasons, is nowhere in the picture thrown by the BJP. And let's not forget the fact that in the last year, December, Harshvardhan was given only about 2 weeks as the chief ministerial candidate, and he did manage more votes and more seats than Arvind Kejriwal. But since then, he is out of the scene. He is a member of parliament, and now he is the central minister. So it remains to be seen whether BJP can project him back into the race, or BJP continues with its policy of putting up Narendra Modi everywhere as the PM and the CM combo kind of thing. As far as Modi is concerned, his popularity, all the polls are confirming his popularity is remaining there. That honeymoon period is continuing. But mind you that Delhi is not Haryana, Delhi is not Jharkhand, Delhi is not Maharashtra for that matter, or not even Jammu Kashmir. Because all these places had the anti-incumbency and the other chief ministers who were facing anti-incumbency. But as far as Delhi is concerned, the USPs that the BJP leaders had to offer on the anti-corruption or good governance, there is a leader out there who has been talking about the same USPs. This is why it is not easy for BJP to just ignore or surpass the idea that Arvind Kejriwal or Aam Aadmi Party is in that.
Right, Yashwant, and a quick addendum to that before I go to the next point as to why is Delhi important. The sense is now that BJP is actually falling back on more caste equations and trying to mobilize on Purvanchalis and so on, rather than sort of the original plank which actually brought Narendra Modi into power last year.
Of course, yes, they are trying something new, because you see, even if you look at the radio jingles which the BJP is playing on the FM, it is more for the first time in the last 1 year. If you look at the BJP campaign, it is for the first time I am looking at their campaign as the more negative campaign rather than as a positive campaign, because it helps more on the Kejriwal's negativity, their personal campaign against Kejriwal. So far in the last 1 year, BJP's campaign has been positively focusing only on the development and the leadership capacity of Narendra Modi and the vision and the future. But somewhere I think they are finding it difficult to do the psyche of the Delhi voter at this point of time. But to we must also admit that BJP's campaign hasn't yet started in that way, because they are only depending on the popularity of Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi hasn't started yet, and not even they have given the charge to somebody like, for that matter, Harshvardhan, or if they are sometime out of the ways, they can put up an ace like Kiran Bedi, which can deliver something good for them.
Right.
At this point of time.
Yeah. No, Yashwant, let me just interrupt you there for a second. So, we've got a lot of questions from Tarun Malhotra, who on both Twitter as well as on G+. One of the questions, of course, he asked is to do with the BJP strategy of not declaring the CM candidate. And I guess that question has been answered already in some ways by you, Yash. The other question is, if I can add one very quickly, what is the least number of seats that Congress could reach in New Delhi, and does the trend suggest that Congress sliding after Lok Sabha in Delhi? So is that, does it mean that Congress will lose more? Do you want to give a one-line kind of answer, and because we're going to cover all of this in much detail later on?
But all the polls which have been released so far in the last 3 months, they don't argue well for the Congress. I see that Delhi is getting extremely bipolar contest, and Congress is being decimated at this point of time, and they lack seriously. They lack this point of time, unless they come up something really spectacular, which is very surprising right now. I'm not anticipating that.
Right. Okay, so here's another comment before I go on to the next one. Chitrakar says Delhi has to choose between steady and erratic, long-term and short-term, experience and novice, truth and facade. So I guess this applies for any election in most places. Let's go on to ask the other next question. Why is Delhi important? Is it only because it's a political capital? Yashwant?
No. Delhi is very many times. Those who have been unable to win Delhi, they have been pooing that it's nothing more than a glamorous municipality. But I don't agree. Delhi is very important. Let's not forget the fact that Delhi has been epicenter of most of the pro or anti-government movements we have seen in the recent past, be it Anna Hazare, be it Arvind Kejriwal, be it resurgence of Modi. Let's say that very few we would have imagined after the December results in Delhi. So Delhi is very well the state at this point of time. Delhi is important for all kinds of reasons, including the anything, no matter how small it is, socio-economic, political, gains momentum due to the big presence of national media in the national capital. We know this, but all said and done, we also accept the fact that that case got that kind of coverage and that kind of sensitivity more because it happened in the national capital.
The second and the third point. So one is Delhi is also a media zone. So it's the confluence or the origin of a lot of news and information with all the media organizations headquartered there, and that somehow tends to in some ways influence the popular thought if there were something like that. The next point, of course, is something that Yashwant already alluded to, which is the sensitivity to issues like women's safety, and that in some ways has seen as responsible for at least one political election result. Being the last one in the state. So these are some of the reasons why Delhi is important and why all of us are going to be watching. The next question, Yashwant, is really what is going to matter most? I mean, I think we've talked about the 4 or 5 issues that are at stake, but what according to you will be the most critical issue that will in some ways define or help voters or drive voters to take the decision in mid-February when the elections are likely to happen?
Well, it seems like at this point of time, it looks like a very positive campaign in a way that of the leadership that Aam Aadmi Party is running because they are projecting out and out the leadership of Arvind Kejriwal. Some very sensitively about that is the day-to-day corruption in life. But at the same time, the BJP has this ace of leadership of Modi being the prime minister and being personally interested in sitting in Delhi himself about the development of Delhi. So it's a quite a spectacular contest, I would say. One thing that when there is a leadership, there is an issue, but at the same time, Lok Sabha election and after that the 4 rounds of assembly election, we are watching a complete meltdown of the Congress across India. Be it Maharashtra, Jharkhand, be it Congress has actually landed up at the number 3 or number 4 situation where it is not even the main party of opposition, leave aside being the party in power. And if Delhi continues that trend, which very much likely do so, although opinion polls are indicating that Congress is going to be probably squeezed out in a way from this bipolar contest that we are going to witness. And in that way, it will be very, very important to understand what kind of politics the country is going to head to after the Delhi election. Because on one pole, it is going to be the BJP and the Narendra Modi thing. And on the other pole, it is going to be the anti-BJP camp. No matter what front, no matter what name you give it to that. But a lot will depend on how that shapes up in the next couple of years, and which may or may not include Aam Aadmi Party. Into that, it certainly raises a big question mark on the future of the Congress, how they are going to cope up with the meltdown that they have been witnessing, and at this point, as on today, no respite is looking up. A couple of by-elections might have given them a couple of assembly seats, but on the larger scale, I don't see any respite coming up because the rest of the assembly elections which are going to be in play, Bihar is coming up this year, later this year. I don't see Congress, unless it goes really strongly and collectively, that will be very important figure to look out for. And Delhi is very important for to understand all these things, because apart from the other things that we discussed in the previous segment, Delhi is also a very cosmopolitan town. We have got Bihari, we have got the UP people, we have got the Uttarakhandis here, we have got the Bengalis living here, South Indians living here, of course, Punjabis, big numbers. So Delhi is also kind of indicator from various voting blocks of different states which are coming, of people who are coming from different states and living in Delhi. So it's gonna be quite an interesting scenario to understand, not only from the perspective of Narendra Modi and BJP or Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal, but all paradigm that what is shaping up in order to fight the BJP, in order to contest with Narendra Modi, which is right now looking like more like a one-sided unipolar world.
And that's the big question, right? Will it be one-sided? Because I mean, sometimes when everyone thinks it's going to be one-sided, well, voters tend to surprise, as the big surprise happened in 2014 as well. So these are some of the issues that we've been trying to lay out as in our attempt to define the landscape. We're obviously inviting you to leave your questions on that G+ page or send us tweets. It's interesting, Yashwant, one of the tweets that came in earlier today said that, forget Delhi, it's too small, focus on Bihar elections instead. Exactly what you've been referring to, but although not in the same context. So it's obviously going to be an exciting and interesting battle in the coming weeks. Two or three big questions, as we've said. What will happen to AAP and what will happen to Congress? Will any of them use this as an opportunity to regain lost ground, or will BJP completely take over? And whoever does it, I mean, who are going to be the people who are going to actually govern Delhi, which is the big question that any citizen of Delhi should be concerned with. So we're going to pause there for this episode. Remember, we're doing this on Mondays and Thursdays every week till the election date, and we're going to be back on Thursday, same time at 4 p.m. Do send in your questions once again. Remember, it's our questions, rather it's our questions and your answers, and it's also your questions and our answers. Stay with us, and we'll be back on India Hangout later this week. Thanks for watching.